45th anniversary, Canal Alliance is launching the Get the Picture campaign to educate, engage, and celebrate our diverse community. With the Get the Picture campaign, we want to promote a safe space for all of us to become educated and engage with one another about diversity issues, celebrate, and together promote acceptance and inclusion. Canal Alliance is coordinating multiple Get the Picture activities throughout the year, including community forums, sport activities, live performances, and social media campaigns. We invite you to participate in all of these events. Also, if you would like to sponsor a Get the Picture event, or if you have an idea for one, we would like to hear from you. Please find me or any other staff member from Canal Alliance here to talk more about it. Thank you, Dominican University, for the invitation to partner with you. Thank you to the incredible team that made tonight possible, and a special thanks to the amazing service learning faculty for your ongoing and proactive work in tearing down walls and building bridges in our community. As a reminder, we want you to use your social media throughout the evening. Please use the following hashtags that you can see on the screen to tweet, post, and share anything you find interesting and informative tonight. Thank you.
Make sure the sound is better than it was before, right? Is this a little better? Okay. I'm Hannah Rodriguez, Farrar, Vice President for Public Affairs and University Relations. I'll be moderating the panel. So let me do some introductions. Dr. Mara Perez, come on up. Take a seat. Is the founder of Latino Futures, which provides a new futurist angle to enable business, philanthropy, nonprofits, and other sectors envision success for themselves and society by tapping into and investing in Latino talent. Latino Future sees Latinos as a key catalyst for national growth and prosperity. She also works as a consultant with expertise in education, leadership development, social justice, and immigration. Next, let's welcome Lucia Martel Dow. Director of Immigration Legal Services at Canal Alliance, which she joined in 2015. ILS provides immigration services for a wide variety of legal services to low-income Marin County residents, citizenship classes, and numerous other resources. Go to their website to find a lot of great resources for you. Prior to the Canal Alliance, she worked on human rights and immigration policy in Venezuela and Spain, and as a compliance consultant in the finance industry. Finally, let's welcome Anna Tafoya. Anna enrolled in Canal Alliance's youth program when she was 15, and it provided her with academic support and community. After graduating from San Francisco State University in 2012, she returned to the Canal Alliance to support the Latino immigrant community by serving as family resource counselor. In this role, she guides families into a wide variety of resources so that they can thrive. Okay, so I have a couple of questions for the panelists, and I will just, ask. And the other thing is, there were cards in the back. If you have questions, we want you to put them on cards, and then we'll collect them. So if you have a question and want to raise, if you have any questions, Julia will come by with a card and a pen. So we have questions at the end. So I'm going to start with DACA. Let's start with Lucia because we need some kind of legal background. I think those should be all on. Yes. Oh, there you go. It should work, so just talk into it. But you might need to project, okay? Could you give us some background on DACA and why it's receiving so much attention right now?
Sure. First of all, thank you so much for Dominican University for the invitation, and I am very happy and very proud to be part of the Get the Picture campaign. So, I wish I was here today talking a little bit more about other things such as immigration reform, but unfortunately we have to talk about other issues such as the potential repeal of DACA. To refresh people's memory, DACA was enacted as a policy during the Obama administration in 2012, and it stands for Deferred Action for Child Arrivals. The idea behind it is to give opportunity to those children and young adults that were brought here in the United States and they were attaining or in the process of attaining a high school degree and then moving on to college. The idea was not to, in the beginning it started as a movement to provide these dreamers with the path to at least become legal permanent residents and later U.S. citizens. That did not pass in Congress, the Dreamers Act did not pass in Congress, so the executive, leading obviously by President Obama, decided to take action using his executive power and enact this as a policy. So the idea is to obviously protect these dreamers and children and young adults that came to the United States before they were 16 and before 2007 to make sure that we're protected from deportation. So it's not a path to citizenship, but at least it gives them the peace of mind that they were not going to be deported by the administration.
Great, thanks. Anna, so you work with families every day, and I just want to know from your perspective, can you give us a sense of what benefits DACA has for individuals, families, and this community?
Yeah. Can you hear me? No. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you need to project into the microphone.
So once the
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
okay, so some of the a lot of the work that I do with the families, and you have a model that is client-centered, so it really depends. But in terms of DACA, what I would do is guide them through the process of applying, so collecting the documents and meeting the guidelines. But some of the benefits, I think that in many perspectives, but people will get a work permit, which means they can apply for a social security number, and before they be 60, in California, so they could get a driver's license as well. So you can imagine the peace of mind, like Lucia said, having all these documents in order. So I would say in the social and personal aspect of this, it was options. A lot of the people had options to go work in different places because they now had the documentation that the employers require. It also gave hope because I met a lot of people that didn't continue in school because their reasoning was, why do I go to school if I can't get a job that I would be qualified to do once I graduate? And so having this allowed, now I can get the documentation. I have a sister that couldn't even go to cosmetology school. Well, she could and pay for it, but she couldn't get a license when she completed the training program, because in order to do that, you need a driver license and you need to pass a background check and all that to get your license to practice. Another very important one, I think, is the sense of safety. That idea that at least I'm not going to be deported, immigration has all my information, and I can be safe, and obviously this was before the election. I like to share, it's not a direct quote, but I know from a person when they got their work permit. It's what I remember she told me, the idea behind it, I wrote it down. And it said, when I got my work permit, I felt a load off my shoulders. It was a constant fear. It was like a pain in the back of my mind. Over the years, I had grown up so used to it that I almost forgot I carried it with me. But every time I saw a police officer, a police guard, anytime anyone asked for my ID, I was reminded of it. That allowed me to get rid of that pain and to live without that fear meant some freedom. And I think that's what I mean when I talk about choices. The ability to have some potential.
Great, thanks. Dr. Perez, as a national expert on Latino issues, can you give us a sense of the benefits for the country? Like, what is the context beyond the community of Marin or an individual? What does DACA do for the United States?
Thank you for having me here. Is this working?
Yes.
And thank you, Dominican University and Canada Alliance, both organizations with which we have a very long history and a great sense of appreciation for what we do. There are approximately, from the numbers that I could gather, 750,000 DACA individuals in the United States. They're young, they're mostly millennials who have, for the most part, lived their basically entire lives in the United States, or the large part of their lives in the United States. They consider this to be their home. They are in high school, they are in college, or they graduated and they're working, contributing to the economy of this country. The United States is undergoing a major demographic change, and the white population is declining. And by 2042, this country is going to be a majority-minority nation. And around that time, also, the Latino population in the U.S. will represent 30% of all people in this country. Many institutions, including Pew Research, project a major labor gap if we don't do something to ensure that our young and our youth have the capacity necessary to continue to lead and to innovate. I argue that the 750,000 DACA participants are instrumental to continuing the vitality of this country now and in the future. And I think that repealing that really counters our principles of democracy, but also our capacity to continue to flourish as a nation over time.
Great. So we have a new administration, things are shifting. There's been a lot of talk about the repeal of DACA. So let's talk about what does that mean. Lucy, let's start with you on the legal side. What happens if it gets repealed?
Unfortunately, we don't know if it does, which probably will, if it does get repealed, we don't know exactly under which scenario that's going to happen. So there are a few options. This is obviously all a speculation because there has not been an official statement from the president on DACA since he was elected. We did hear him during his campaign asserting that he was going to end DACA on day one. And we also know there's a leaked executive order that does talk about ending the program. So there's a few options. The president could, using his executive power, can just release one executive order in which decides to repeal DACA and revoke every single work permit out there. So basically end the program and putting all these DACA recipients at risk of deportation. Another possibility is to say, well, I'm not going to accept any more DACA petitions, but I'm going to let the ones that are out, the work permits that are out there expire on their own and not accept any more renewals. There's a lot of possibilities, and really we don't know, but if anything, according to what we have, I think internally in the administration they're battling what to do because it seems to me that the DACA program is very popular. So politically, it seems to be that there's going to be a cost of ending 750,000 work permits just overnight. That will have a tremendous impact in the economy, as Dr. Mara Perez pointed out, but also politically will mobilize a lot of people. And the concern is obvious that a lot of people ask us every day, so should I renew, should I not renew? And our message so far is, well, we still haven't heard, so which means that the USCIS, which is the service within Homeland Security that processes applications, you can still renew, but we are not recommending anything that has to do with initial applications. The risk is that you're obviously sharing your information with the government. As of today, the policy, and the government will have to rescind this policy. As of today, the policy is that USCIS does not share information from DACA recipients and their parents with ICE, which is the agency that enforces immigration law. So today, I can say that information is protected, and we have to wait and see what the president wants to do through executive order and how he would like to end DACA, if at all. And other possibilities, obviously, wait until Congress enacts or passes the Bridge Act, which is currently under a discussion in Congress, and I can talk a little bit about that later. But to your question, legally, the options are a few, and we still don't know exactly how that's going to look like.
Great. So I want to get back to Dr. Perez. Given the potential of DACA being repealed, what do you think that means for the country? I mean, you study the whole United States, you know the stats going forward. What could this mean?
It's a great loss if that happens. There are many organizations across the Bay Area and across the country that have been organizing Latinos and particularly Latino millennials, of whom many are DACA recipients, to grow in their leadership capacity. For example, the Latino Action Network, Latino Business Startup Academy, Latino Startup Academy, which is another group, that are emphasizing the potential for these young Latinos to become entrepreneurs, to become leaders. If we lose that, we're losing a population, a segment of the population that has already been underway in their development as leaders, as entrepreneurs, and many of whom have already been starting to develop their businesses and carry on their ideas. There is a woman in the Bay Area, in the peninsula. Her name is Sarai Salamanca. She now is a permanent resident, was a dreamer for most of her life, and became a major high-tech entrepreneur in Silicon Valley. Social entrepreneur, really, developing an app for dreamers to be able to access opportunities for funding when they go to college. This is an example of a dreamer and somebody that received, that was under DACA. There are many like her who are already developing ideas, developing businesses, participating in leadership initiatives. It would be a great loss. I read that Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican of South Carolina, along with Dick Durbin, Democrat of Illinois, have introduced something called the Bridge Act, which is, and I have to repeat this, ban the removal of individuals who dream and grow our economy. And this would be to have something in place of DACA. These senators themselves are telling us that DACA participants, dreamers, are building our economy. So it's not something that we as advocates of the Latino community are saying because we advocate, but rather that our own senators in Washington are acknowledging. The Latino purchasing power in the United States is $1.5 trillion in the United States. And this is in part because of the potential and the earning capacity of all of our Latinos in the U.S., of many of whom are DACA participants. So we would lose revenue and we would lose talent, and we really can't afford that.
Did you want to add something?
Yeah, I just want to add that just in California, the amount of the DACA recipients just in the state of California, it's about 180,000 people as of today that will lose their jobs. 180,000 people, and they contribute about $11 billion a year in GDP to the state of California. So just in the state, the impact on the economy, and this is probably something that Dr. Perez can elaborate more, it's tremendous. Imagine 180,000 people that lose their jobs overnight.
So I want to get back to the kind of personal, what does this mean for the actual real people? Like, we can look at statistics. Yes, it's $1 trillion economy, or they've 180,000 jobs. But Anna, you work with families, you work with individuals, you work with kids, you see the front line. Can you give us a sense of what they're going through right now in terms of thinking about the prospect of what could happen on this front?
I think that the most common, I guess, feeling would be uncertainty right now, because we don't know what's going to happen. And as Lucia mentioned, there are different scenarios that could play out. So it's hard to plan when you don't know which one is it going to be. You know, it's hard to plan, and it's hard to plan in terms of economic plan and financial, and plan in terms of family, because you know a lot of these people also have children, have family, and so it's just that uncertainty of not knowing which scenario it's gonna turn out to be, and a lot of the feeling that I get from the clients is this of you're pushing people back in the shadows, right? So this is that you create again this large group of people that become again like second-class citizens, and so it's hard. There are many consequences of that. You know, when people lose their job, when people can't survive, when people are afraid of complaining or denouncing crimes against them, you know. So it's really, it's going to be very tough times, and I think that once we know exactly what the order is, if it's repealed and how it is, then we can probably start to see more of a reaction and start to see more of the effects that this is going to have.
So let me stay with you for a second. I think everyone is probably familiar with what happened this weekend with the current executive order around refusing refugees and barring immigrants from Muslim majority countries. Have you interacted with families who are reacting to the current state? I mean, it feels like every day we're getting kind of hit with yet another executive order or something else. How are the families been reacting today?
A lot of confusion.
Really? So it's
confusion,
definitely there.
It's definitely there, and I think that that has thought, you know, it's like the first thing that we're gonna have to respond with this information, clarify the information. Because a lot of people were thinking, oh, if I have a green card, does that mean that I can't leave? But you know, it only applies to certain countries. So it's clarifying that information because it depends where they're getting it from, and it also depends how people understand it. I know that the community that we work with tends to be in a lower levels of education, and sometimes, you know, you gotta introduce the information and level of the language that is compatible. You know, we don't understand the legal terms that sometimes are used and thrown around. But yeah, I think confusion again is like one of those things coming back.
So Lucy, you oversee ILS. I think this is a perfect segue to a plug for what services and everything that the Canal Alliance is providing for all immigrants, actually.
Just as Anna referred to, she just said that the first step is obviously education. I think the first effort that Canal Alliance started to develop once we heard about the election and the outcome was to start in talking to the community about know your rights so that people understand what the constitutional rights are, and giving them advice about how to protect themselves in case they obviously encounter an immigration officer. But Canal Alliance, besides offering information and resources for people, we also see clients in our offices for different types of cases of immigration relief. DACA, we still are renewing DACA permits. We're also doing new visas, family-based cases, and assist with other things such as naturalization, which is anybody who wants to apply for naturalization, this is the time to do it, and you can come to Canal Alliance. So we offer an array of services, and obviously the idea that we offer a wraparound service approach. So we are a multi-service organization, and the idea that if you come to Canal Alliance for legal services, you can also work with a coach, with somebody who will be a case manager and giving you other tools for them as well. So that's a very unique approach from Canal Alliance. So we're not only there covering the legal needs, but also the social support.
That's great. Dr. Perez, so given the context, nationally, what do you think is going to happen with organizations like Canal Alliance and how much they can, I mean, there's a limited capacity. So I know you're familiar with national organizations across the country in a number of states. Have you seen any kind of reaction in terms of how they are dealing with this confusion that Anna is seeing and the kind of constantly shifting landscape?
Well, I'm seeing a few things. One is concerned with the potential of having to deal with these changes, both in terms of how people will be affected and in terms of their own capacity to serve larger numbers of people that are increasingly coming to ask for assistance. So a dynamic that we're observing right now, locally in the Bay Area, but also beyond, is an increased number of Latinos functioning not just as donors to nonprofits, but as philanthropists. So I think this particular scenario that we're encountering is the crossroads for us as Latinos and others to think about what we can do to support organizations like Canal Alliance and others that are providing these kinds of services, and to step up to the plate and increase our giving. There are organizations like the Latino Community Foundation in San Francisco that are organizing large groups of donors, Latino donors, in what they call giving circles. And they are paying very close attention to these issues. So the more we can inform ourselves, not only about what's happening, but also how we can help these organizations by volunteering, but also by donating, so that if organizations like yours or others need to bring in additional attorneys or additional people to provide support to the community, can do it because they have the funding. So I think funding is very important. We also should think that if we think about the deportation threats currently, they're talking about potentially deporting 11 million people. The American Action Forum, which is a conservative entity, has calculated that deporting 11 million people would cost approximately $400 billion to the United States over 20 years. 400 billion translates into $36,000 per person. Aren't there better ways to use $36,000 per person than chartering airplanes and creating a tremendous amount of waste in our federal institutions? So I would argue also that you can advocate with your senators and congressmen and use this number, $36,000 per person. Create policies that allow us to channel that kind of funding into building the economy of the future, and the population, which is the Latino population, which becoming 30% of the entire population in the U.S., will be the engine of growth. So I would also say advocate with your local officials and the federal ones too, and present alternative scenarios for how to deploy these vast amounts of money. So donate and advocate.
Very good, great. So we're looking for questions from the audience. Do you have some for us? Lucia, okay. How long are DACA work permits, and why do they need to expire and be renewed?
Very good question. Yeah, I missed that my initial explanation. So the work permits are valid for 2 years. And you can renew those work permits about 6 months before they expire. There was a period in the beginning in which these work permits were issued for 3 years, but then the administration was sued, long litigation, and at the end, the 2-year work permit is what we ended up with. So the issue is that this is not done with Congress approval, so this was actually an executive order. So under law, usually this protected status usually only are valid for about 2 years, and you cannot extend them for more.
Great. Okay, so what assurance has San Rafael mayor and police chief given to whether they will refuse to cooperate with deportation? Anyone know the answer to that?
Yes. Well, no, the chief of police, Diane Bishop, actually came out the next day after the election, and she made a statement, a public statement, saying that the San Rafael's police department was not going to be a tool of the federal government, that they were not going to use their resources to enforce immigration law. So, yeah. And she came out very strong. Actually, there was a joint statement where executive director worked with her to make this public. And the Nevada chief of police, that actually is also very new in his job, came out with a very similar statement. And I think the mayor have also been very supportive. And I think the idea is that we should not use the resources that we have locally to enforce these laws. There are a lot of them are unjust.
Right, and I think 15 attorney generals are actually joining forces and fighting some of the immigration laws that have or executive orders that have just been passed. So the fight is being taken state by state, and Governor Jerry Brown's State of the State also mentioned the notion, he's going to protect our citizens. So did de Blasio in New York City. So there are a number of high-profile public officials thinking about this on a local level, right? So there might be an executive action that is supposedly blanketing the whole country, but the local government is actually stopping and saying, we oversee our own population. So the fight is going to end up happening between those things. So another question is, given that our federal representatives are all are in support of DACA and in the minority in Congress, what can Californian citizens do? That is a very good question, because I think a lot of people in this state are sitting there thinking, right now we need, I think, 600,000 signatures to consider seceding from the country, and there's a movement for that. Not that I'm saying that we're for that or anything like that, but the notion of California being a little bit of a bubble and separate from what the administration is putting forward, the question for a lot of people in
Something I've seen in other scenarios is an arrangement called collective impact, where a host of organizations come together to address a specific issue, and they work through an anchor organization, and I'm mostly talking about nonprofits. They can have a much greater impact than just individual organizations advancing their vision and mission and their advocacy. So I think one thing that Californians can do is, by region, by county, or in some other form, think about how we might form collective impact arrangements to address specifically this issue. And in that form, we will have non-profits doing this, but they can also leverage the power of their constituents, their donors, their members, and their volunteers. So I think that it's possible to do that. It happened when we saw the issues of children crossing the border, fleeing Central American countries, and here in the Bay Area, we were able to see the impact of collective impact. So I would strongly encourage our nonprofits across the state to look at that as one viable model to augment our own capacity and our own capacity to create outcomes.
That's great. Okay. Yeah. So do you think DACA students, people, are the most vulnerable of all undocumented people for deportation right now?
No, you're wrong. I was just, so I think that DACA becomes the main concern because, again, immigration has all the information. When a person applies for DACA, they have to submit their address, they have to submit where they have lived for the past 10, since they arrived to the United States, actually. And once they're going to renew, by the time the renewal comes, they already have a social security number, a driver's license, all of that is submitted. And every 2 years, when the work permit needs to be renewed, biometrics are taken, so fingerprints and for background checks and all that. So immigration has all of that. They have, so that's why it creates a most vulnerable group.
Yeah, definitely DACA, it's a very vulnerable population. But internally, the administration would have to actually intentionally say, well, you know what, now we're going to get that information that has been confidential and use it for enforcement. It can happen, I'm not saying it, and definitely there's a lot of vulnerability there. But President Obama started what is called the enforcement priorities, and this is basically meaning that somebody who's undocumented can be deported if the administration wanted to. But what the government said, well, I'm going to just, because I have limited resources, you mentioned the cost of actually deporting people, I'm going to just focus on those that are supposedly at a risk to the community. So right now, the population that continues to be more at risk are those people that actually have encounters with law enforcement. The way the government and the Department of Homeland Security have carried out deportations, the way they have done it so massively, is by using local communities and local law enforcement agencies to let them know and alert them of when there's an undocumented person who's been arrested. And that can start a whole process of enforcement and future deportation of an individual. So the administration hasn't said exactly what the priorities are going to be, but it seems quite obvious that that's where that's going to continue. And I think that's what puts most people at risk. And additionally, unfortunately, what they tend to do is that they mass criminalize people for things that are not necessarily a crime. And that's a very big issue within the community of color.
Great. I have a very specific question for someone who is a DACA recipient and works for a nonprofit that does environmental work abroad, okay, so out of the United States. This person has applied for advanced parole. What are the risks in leaving the country right now?
I cannot provide you advice like this, but if that person is in the United States, our right now, Canal Alliance, the Department of Immigration and Legal Services, has the position that that person just should not, advises that person should not leave the country with advance parole. That's our recommendation, but obviously the client is ultimately the person who needs to evaluate the risk of what they have to do. But that would be, consider what just happened this last weekend. I mean, what if the person decides to issue the executive order at 7 o'clock in the afternoon and you're on a plane coming back? It's just impossible. So I think the risk is too great.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate that question because I think that it's very easy to kind of talk about a policy and not have it be humanized, but to know that there's someone who's sitting here thinking, I do this great work, I want to go away to do that work, and I can't leave the country, or should I leave the country, or what are the risks? I think that's important. Did you want to add something, Anna?
Yeah, I wanted to, and I think that's for those of you who don't know, with DACA, you get all this, great benefits, but you can't just leave the country. That's why this person is asking that. You have to submit an application, ask for a permit to go out and come back, wait for immigration to approve it, and then you can go. And there are very specific reasons for which you can do it. So that's why this person is asking that, and what would be one of the reasons. But like Lucia says, if the administration decides to cancel this program while you are outside of the country doing work, you might not be able to come back. And it's part of the guidelines with DACA, that you can't just say, oh, I'm going to go to this place, or I'm going to do this. You have to submit a permit, an application, and explain where you're going. And the 3 categories, it's education, humanitarian, and work related. So leisure is not an option.
So a clarification question. Lucia, you kept talking about DACA as for work permits, and Annie had mentioned that. The question is, does it protect only adult children wanting to work, or how does it work for educational opportunities as well?
We're saying students because it was most, I guess, the people that applied and were the ones that were at the front of this movement. But it basically, if you meet the guidelines and in terms of education, the only requirement was that you were in school completing a high school diploma, or that you had a high school diploma or a GED. So, but it was just basically that you came before the age of 16, that was before June 15, 2007, and that you were here at the time that President Obama, or former President Obama, announced this executive action, which was in June 15, 2012. Yeah. So, the ages is young adults because of the guidelines.
Attending a public institution here in California, how will the repeal affect Dreamer scholars who qualify for in-state aid or AB 540? They're paying in-state California resident.
Oh yeah, sure. So the Dream Act in California, the Dreamer Act in California, that is pertains only to the state of California. So regardless of your document, of your legal status in the U.S., the idea is that they will still be protected and they could still attend the state colleges. And I think that's important to say that the state of California has come up with a lot of protections for not only DACA, but for undocumented immigrants in general. So at least we know that. Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. So at least we know that the state has enacted these protections, and even if it gets repealed, and that if it gets revoked, unfortunately, you may not be able to have access to those scholarships.
And again, going back to work, like you invest so much in education, and then you might not be able to work in the field that you went to school for if you don't have the work permit, and you can pass like background checks and all that.
So, Dr. Perez, this is for you and your comment about 5 friends and create a collective impact group, and then how do you do that? So the question is, really, here I am at home, sitting in front of my computer. What can I do now? I mean, can I call federal representatives other than California? Can I, should I contact whoever? I'm just trying to get a sense of, a collective impact group implies a nonprofit kind of.
Well, what one would do is look at the organizations that are in your area, but even in your neighborhood, and figure out who is playing what role, and connect with them. Maybe send them a donation. Maybe make a statement to your local officials, like I said earlier, about use the $36,000 proposition to see whether they would take that on and to graduate student. I saw today, both of them, the presidents have sent letters to President Trump. I have a hard time saying President Trump, but I really like they sent letters to President Trump indicating the great loss that his policies would cause to the academic body in this nation. So, talk to your alma maters, whether it's college or high school, and ask them, what are you doing and how can I help? If you need more students to sign letters, for example, Rutgers had almost 10,000 students sign this letter that accompanied the document that the president sent to Mr. Trump. So there are even basic things like that. Think about what's close to you that you don't have to stretch too far to figure out. Your local nonprofit, your local foundation, or your school. And ask what are they doing and how can I help? And donate.
That's great, thank you. So one more question. How do I help protect undocumented immigrants? What can I do to help protect them? I mean, they're physically, it's the part legally, socially, emotionally, what and can I do as an individual to help protect them?
I think that it's similar to what Dr. Mara was saying about going to them locally to start first. And if you don't have a lot of extra money to donate, you can also donate your skill. I'm sure that Lucia would really appreciate extra attorneys and paralegals in your department because they're always inundated with clients and appointments. We also always need support in the mental health department. So, a lot of these families, most of these families have children, and, they pick up on things. They pick up on the fear, they pick up on the rejection part of it, they pick up on different things. So it's always appreciate supporting these families. And it doesn't have to be in a therapy room, it could be just in groups and social events and so there are many, many different ways that your skill can also support.
Do you want anything to say?
The question was also how can we help people who are undocumented and give them assistance. So I think if you do have people that work with you, family members, a lot of families with mixed status, encourage them to be empowered with information. Empower yourself with information and relay that information to the people around you. And when I mean by information, I mean mostly related to constitutional rights that apply to everybody. And sometimes people might be eligible for a different form of relief, but because they have been in the shadows for so long and they haven't really talked to an immigration attorney before, encourage them to do that. Their information will remain confidential and they may be eligible for some form of relief. So if you have any questions about that, we'll be happy to help you analyze.
That's great. This is the last question. So what will happen with the information DMV has from undocumented people?
As of today, and we don't have any indication that this is going to change in the near future. The policy is, and that the information in DMV from AB 60, the driver's license for undocumented, it remains confidential. There's no reason why the state will provide this information to the Department of Homeland Security, unless they're looking for one particular individual that most of the time has to do with past criminal record, or because they're going to restate a deportation order. So, but there is not a criminal record, or ICE is not going after that particular individual. we do not believe that that poses a risk as of today. And that's a position that, in fact, our senior attorney in my department that has been working with us for 18 years and know this pretty well, we're very confident that that's probably going to be the case, that they're not going to share that information.
Right,
That's
because
a
the
very
Brown
good
just
question.
made it sound as if he doesn't want to share that information.
I don't think that, yeah, it's a state, it's a state policy, and legally, I don't think they have much of a recourse from the federal government to do that.
So I want to thank the panelists. This was really interesting. So one thing that I think we need to, I just want to make sure you know, there's a website called the Immigrant Legal Resource Center, and it has a lot of great information for you. You know, one of the things in the throes of the uncertainty, people are looking to help other people, but there are also people looking to take advantage of other people. So there are a lot of resources at the ILRC page, and I really suggest that you try to check that page out. A lot of resources in multiple languages. It's really helpful. I want to now introduce Margarita Galindo. You guys can step down and take a seat. This is the next part of the program here. So Marcia Galindo, wait a minute, am I going the wrong way? Yes. Marcia Galindo is the development associate at Canal Alliance, and development is exactly what Dr. Perez was talking about, donating, and she works on getting Canal Alliance philanthropy towards Canal Alliance up and running. Before we have Margarita come up, one quick thing, remember we're doing this as a social media campaign. If you have a moment, you have your cell phone out, you have your smart tool, your smart thing out. Here's a prompting question. Post something on Facebook, on Twitter. Remember to use the hashtag. We want to get the Picture campaign kind of going. Social media is one of the major ways of getting information out, and it is also a very effective way of getting collective impact started. And one of the things that happens is simply putting a hashtag that starts to go viral, that starts other people in the conversation. So take a look at the question. How did this event expand your understanding of immigration policies and stories? Tweet, post, gram, share, do what you do, put it on social media, and add the hashtag. Any of the hashtags will do. So Margarita, it's all you.
Okay with the microphone? Can you all hear me all right? Yes? No? Okay, cool. Just everybody, I invite you to take a big, deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. That's a lot of information we just received seriously together. Thank you all very much for joining us this evening. And we're switching things. Sure. While we're doing technical stuff, I just want to remind us all what Omar shared earlier about we are not only here to educate you about DACA and immigration, we're also here to celebrate that we're all here together, that we all have common values, and that we're here supporting one another. We, none of us are alone, and that means a great deal to us individually at Canal Alliance. It's what we share with our clients, and hopefully you're going to get some of that reassurance in your own souls and your own hearts. Thank you. It means everything to be all together and to be united in purpose. I hope you all agree. A little over a month ago, Amar sent an email to all of us, and it said, "Dear team, my father-in-law and his friends produced a song," and I need my glasses, "to highlight the true values of Marin and its people. He's allowing Canal Alliance to use it any way we want, and I'd like to produce a music video to go along with it and launch it on January 20th to communicate who we are, what we stand for, and to remind us that the key to a peaceful world is to embrace diversity." As it turned out, Omar's father-in-law is songwriter and producer Andre Peses, and Andre's friends are singer-songwriter Tony Lindsay and singer-songwriter-producer Larry Batiste. Without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to present to you Get the Picture.
passion is equality, because it always ends up in tragedy. Yo, work hard, just like you. Feed my family, just like you. Is it too much to ask you to wake up free to get a little respect for people like me? Meet me in the middle where the sky meets the street. Every night comes together, we are one family. And we'll make to your heart, just right. All together we are strong. Meet me in the middle where the sky meets the street. Every night comes together, we are one family. And we'll make to your heart, just right. All together we are strong. Get the picture. One world, one family. Get the picture.
Yes. Oh, no, I don't.
Well, I just want to say, after the election, we received communications from groups and individuals saying they wanted to take action and they wanted to know how they could help. This video is the first project born out of that desire for grassroots community action. And tonight's event is the second. So thank you all for being a part of our launch. You're making history here tonight. I'm very pleased to see many of you here that I know who are friends and supporters of Canal Alliance, and many of you who I hope to meet before the evening is out. Get the Picture is about shaking hands and saying hello to one another so we can see who our neighbors are. So that when we talk or sing about one world and one family, we genuinely understand who the members of our family are, because we're no longer strangers to one another. Please help me welcome to the stage the artist who made this possible. Mr. Andre Peses. Marketing Manager at Canal Alliance. And Mr. Nico Carrera. And my son. I just have two questions for all of you, but I would like, if we can start with Andre, please. Share with us your motivation. How did this project come about in your mind? Where did the song come from? And what made you decide to share it with the Canal Alliance?
Well, the idea for this song was actually Omar Carrera's. We were having dinner one night and he said, why don't you develop a song for the Canal Alliance and to show the diversity, to express how we feel as a community. And I always think writing a song is a good idea. So I got together with Tony Lindsay, who is the lead singer for the last 25 years, recently with the Carlos Santana Band, and Larry Batiste, who is does a lot of the music for the Grammys. He does all the music for the telecast over the internet, and a hit songwriter, and I am also, and Tony is too. We're all hit songwriters. Anyway, we got together, we wrote the song, and the beauty of it is it almost writes itself, because when you're into it in the labor of love, it works out pretty easy. Although it's easy to say after all the work that we did. Now I can say it was really easy. And so I've worked with these guys before, and we developed this song for this project. And we had a real good time doing it, and we recorded it in my little studio. And Tony is an amazing singer, and Larry played all the instruments, and I played a few of them also. And so that's basically what it is. And it turned out great. Really like it. We're going to release it. It's going to be on CD Baby on February 1st. And there's a possibility it'll be on iTunes on February 1st. But on February 7th, it'll be out everywhere in the world. It'll be worldwide release. It'll be on iTunes, CD Baby, Amazon, Pandora, Spotify. It's going to be all over the place. And we're donating half the money to the Canal Alliance. So I would encourage you all to please buy one. It's we're pricing it really low. It's 99 cents, which hardly means anything anymore. And it's going to go to a great cause. And we are all into the cause. We think that the immigrant population, of which my father is one of them, has brought a diversity and a richness to this country, and that you just can't do without. That's what's made this country great, and to stop it now is plain old stupid.
Nico is an 8th grade student at Hall Middle School, 13 years old. You carry yourself very well, young man. I'd like to know what you were thinking about all the immigration talk happening, and what was your reaction when you were approached to do this?
So I was introduced by this topic at the same dinner that my grandpa was introduced at, and my dad said we want to make a music video about immigration, about how everyone is one family. And I didn't really think much of it, but it really got me thinking of how I am lucky where I am. I'm in a decent school. I'm trying out for high schools. I'm trying to look for my future. And then a couple weeks go by, and I'm visiting my mom, who works at UCSF, and I get a call, and the call says, "Hey Nico, we want you to rap in this video." And I said, "What?" He says, "You're a great rapper, you know. I love how you rap. I want you to rap for this video." I've never rapped in my life before. But it was great to see someone thought I could rap. And so finally, I said, "Sure, yeah, let's do it." And I go down to the studio of Andre's studio, and I go there, and I had nothing planned. And I tried to play it off like I did, but I really didn't have anything planned. And he goes, "Well, why do you think this is important? Why are you doing this?" And I said, "Well, I'm doing this, one, because of my father. And two, because I do care. I do care about this cause, and I do care about the future and the future for millions of people." So me and my grandfather, we took about maybe 30 minutes to get a good basis of the song. And I went back to my house, and I read it over and over again, and I finally thought, "Oh, okay, I got it down." And so after that, I've been thinking a lot about this cause, and I've been thinking a lot about what my father has pulled over the past 3 weeks, what David has done, and what this amazing program is amazing. Get the picture. I'm very thankful to be in it. So.
Thank you. David, so I guess the song portion was fairly easy from what I'm hearing. How easy was it to put together the video?
Can everyone hear me? It's the first time I use a mic, by the way.
You can take it up.
So, like Margarita mentioned earlier,
Closer to your mouth.
Is that good? Is that it? Okay. Like Margarita mentioned earlier, that this project came out to us a month ago. Oh, by the way, I'm the marketing manager for Canal Alliance as well.
In other words, he has other duties in addition to
a month ago, and I was like, this is perfect. It's a great idea. Let's start finding someone to create the video. But it's a month. Everyone who I contacted said that it was too soon, didn't have time, and I'm a graphic designer as well, photographer, and I've done some filming, more editing. So I figured I'll do it myself. And this was for a little over 2 weeks of work. And I think this morning I was also editing this video. But it went well. I immediately knew I wanted to show diversity in the video. I wanted to also show the people who work in the community and work closely with the people here in Marin County. And I just want to thank Tipping Point, MCOE, Marin Community Office of Education. And I also want to thank Elm, the kids that were adorable.
Can we have them
actually,
stand?
can we have them stand? And also our university prep program work, our students as well that were in the video. But yeah, having a great time. And Gloria Stavillo is here. She's the director of university prep. But yeah, it was great.
Thank you. So then I would like to ask Nico another question. What do you think your role is going to be now? How has this changed? Maybe how do you feel your place is as an advocate for immigration causes or something greater than yourself?
Well, I've definitely learned a lot of things over the past 3 weeks. A lot. From my father, from friends, from my grandfather, from my mother. But I'm trying with this message. My greater goal is to show to the youth that everyone is equal. Everyone deserves a chance in life. And it doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what you believe in. All matters is what you do in life. What you do in life will always reflect on who you are.
So I'd like to ask one more question of Andre and of David. What do you see in the next year for Get the Picture, the song, the video?
Well, I'm one of those that survived the 60s. And in the 60s, our government, stupid as they were back then, got us involved in a terrible war that nobody knew why, and they were sending us all there to die. And so the artist community, which I was a part of back then, came together. And so did the student community. And there was a loud voice. We made a lot of noise, and we changed it. And that's what we want to do now. Art is very powerful. A song, a line, a phrase can change the universe. And we need to all come together, and we don't need to do it out of hate or out of anger, but we need to be very strong, and we're going to do it because it needs to be done. And once again, my country that I grew up in and are proud of every once in a while has gone down the wrong path. And we need to educate our country on what they're missing out on. And so, to me, this song is the best contribution I can make because it's what I do. I'm a professional songwriter. And it doesn't stop here for me. It's going to continue. We're going to just keep going until everybody is doing well. So, and He's pretty shy, isn't he?
David, the future.
So, what's next for this song, this music video? I get to go back to be a marketing manager for Canal Lines. And we are planning for Get the Picture campaign March 1st. Hopefully have a social media strategy and a campaign that will also involve the public to join us. Let's make this viral. So follow us at Canal Lines on Twitter, and you'll see on March 1st we'll have that social media campaign with Get the Picture along with the song and the music video.
Yeah, please share that with your networks, everyone, because we really want to see this go viral and we want everybody involved, students, artists, activists across the board. We all need one voice. And so a couple of things. I will be inviting Oma to come back and lead us out. I think we're also going to hear the song once again. But I have a really special request of Nico. Would you mind kind of taking us out on the rap? Would you like to hear that?
Yeah.
Yo, get the picture. Can you see? One nation, that's the way it's gotta be. You can't go messing with equality because it always ends up in a tragedy. Yo, work hard, just like you. Feed my family, just like you. Is it too much to ask in the land of the free to get a little respect for people like me?
Please, one more round of applause for one more. I hope you are inspired. I hope that you get the picture. I want just to recognize two things. You know, Mara was mentioning the importance of collective impact. This is an example of it. Dominican University, Canal Alliance, Elm, individuals, we all came together to produce something beautiful like this. So it's already happening. We don't need to start from scratch. There's the other thing that we need to understand. The demographic, that's not going to change. We are here and we're not going anywhere. And I know all of you guys are asking, what can I do? What can I do to be part of this, to join, to support? And behind the program, you will see multiple opportunities, activities that we are organizing throughout the year. This is our 35th anniversary. And this Sunday, if you love soccer, or you have somebody who loves soccer, join us. We're going to be playing at Dominican University at the soccer field on February 5th, a diversity soccer tournament. We'll have people from all over the place to come and play the beautiful sport. Now, soccer itself brings a lot of diversity. It's not that we are creating one, we're just highlighting that. And in March, we are organizing a Valentine's walkthrough in Mill Valley, so if you are around, please join us. We have some great partners from dealing with the school here. They're going to be supporting this effort as well. And most importantly, if you have any idea for us, I know David is already, his son is already, oh my God, with more ideas. But if you have any idea, you have any group that can benefit for bringing the Get the Picture campaign to you, please contact us. Thank you, Hannah. I hope it's not the last time we have this. Thank you, everyone. Good night.